My name is Rachel. And this story doesn't start with a wedding. Starts with betrayal. The kind that doesn't hit you all at once. It slices you quietly, piece by piece, while everyone else smiles and claps like nothing's wrong. That's how my family treated me. Like I was the background, the quiet one. And I played along. Until one envelope changed everything. But we'll get there. Let's go back first. I was the middle child. The one who didn't cause trouble. Didn't ask for much. And didn't get much either. My older sister Emily was the star. Straight teeth. Homecoming queen. Everyone's favorite. My parents worshipped her. And my mom? She lived for other people's praise. The matching outfits. The perfect Christmas cards. Me? I was just there. They said I was the serious one. Translation: the one they forgot to brag about. When Emily got a B in school, they baked a cake. When I got an A+, they barely looked up. She got the bigger room, the fancier prom dress, the loudest claps. I got overlooked, but I didn't complain. I went to college early, got a job before I graduated, moved out and never asked them for help. When I graduated, no one came. Emily's boyfriend had a concert. My dad had a headache. I smiled through it, because that's what I was taught to do. Then, a few months ago, I got a text from my cousin Megan. Did you hear Emily's getting married? No, I hadn't. You going? That one cut deep. Because I hadn't been invited. Not even a forwarded link. Emily was planning the perfect wedding. And I wasn't even on the guest list. I opened Instagram. Scrolled. There it was. My mom had posted a photo of Emily in a bridal dress. Caption: "Can't wait to celebrate our beautiful bride." I stared at it, and something inside me snapped. Not jealousy, not sadness, clarity. They never planned on letting me be part of that world. Not really. I didn't cry, didn't call, didn't ask why. I walked to my desk, opened the top drawer, pulled out a single envelope, the one I'd saved for 2 years, the one that told me the truth. Came in the mail. No name on the return label, just mine. Inside was a short letter, an illegal document, certified, stamped. It was from someone I hadn't seen in years, someone I thought had disappeared, a name that brought back 1,000 questions. The letter said, "Rachel, I don't expect forgiveness, but I thought you should know the truth. What you do with it is up to you." And then it said it, in bold print, something that shattered everything I'd been told growing up. It wasn't just about me. It was about Emily. For 2 years I said nothing. Not to my parents. Not to Emily. Not to anyone. But now, they were hosting a wedding. They invited hundreds of people. Photographers. Stylists. DJs. But not me. So I got dressed. Picked a deep green gown I'd never worn before. Curled my hair. Put on lipstick I hadn't touched in years. And I went. With the envelope in my purse. The venue was a fairy tale. String lights. Blush pink roses. Smiling servers with champagne trays. No one noticed me at first. Then Emily did. Her face dropped. "Rachel." I smiled. "You look stunning. Did you get an invite?" "No." She blinked. "Hard. You shouldn't be here." And yet here I am. I walked past her. Sat near the back. The ceremony was a blur. They cried. They kissed. Everyone clapped. Then came the reception. The dinner. The speeches. And just before the cake, Emily took the mic. To love. To family. To everyone who showed up to support us. Then her eyes locked on mine. Even those who weren't invited but came anyway. Laughter. Loud. Sharp. Cruel. I didn't move. I reached into my purse. Pulled out the envelope. And stood up. I didn't say a word yet. But the moment I stood, the room changed. Eyes turned. Smiles faded. And they had no idea what was coming next. My name is Rachel. I stood there for a second, envelope in hand, while the laughter echoed. Some people glanced at you all at once. Others kept smiling. It slices you quietly, thinking maybe this was some part of the show. While everyone else smiles and claps like nothing's wrong. She knew this wasn't a toast. That's how my family treated me. This wasn't a joke. Like I was the background, wasn't here for decoration. The quiet one. and I played
waiter
along
passed by with
until
flutes of
one envelope
champagne.
changed everything.
I took one,
but we'll
took
get
a
there.
slow sip.
Let's go back
Then walked
first.
toward the mic.
I was
Emily
the middle
tensed.
child. She
The
started
one
to
who
step
didn't cause
forward,
trouble.
but someone didn't ask
Maybe
for
her new
much,
husband
and didn't get
grabbed
much
her hand
either.
and whispered something.
My older sister
She
Emily
paused.
was the star.
Good.
Straight teeth.
The mic was still in her
Homecoming
hand.
queen. I stopped
Everyone's
in front
favorite.
of her, looked
My
her in
parents
the eyes,
worshipped her,
and said
and my
quietly,
mom,
she
"May
lived for
I?"
other people's
Her jaw
praise.
clenched.
The matching
She
outfits,
hesitated.
the
But she
perfect
handed
Christmas
it to me.
cards. There it
Me?
was.
I was
The
just
second she gave
there.
me the mic,
They said I
she
was
gave
the
up serious
control.
one.
I didn't
Translation:
smile.
the one they forgot
Didn't
to brag
thank
about.
anyone.
When
I
Emily
turned to
got
the
a B in
crowd.
school, they baked
Hi,
a cake.
I'm Rachel.
When I got an A+,
Emily's sister.
they barely
You
looked
might not
up.
recognize
She got
me.
the bigger room.
I wasn't on
the
the
fancier
program.
prom dress.
A few people
the
chuckled
loudest
nervously.
claps.
I
got
didn't.
overlooked.
I wasn't
but
invited.
I didn't complain.
But I came
I
anyway.
went to college early
because I wanted to
got a
see
job
something
before
for
I
myself.
graduated.
I held
Moved
up
out
the
and never
envelope.
asked them for
2
help.
years ago, I
When
got
I
a letter
graduated, no
from
one
someone
came.
I hadn't heard
Emily's
from since I was
boyfriend
a
had a
kid.
concert.
Someone
My
my dad
parents
had a
told me
headache.
never to
I
mention.
smiled through it.
You could feel it
because
now.
that's what I was
The room.
taught to do.
It shifted.
Then
A
a
few
few
months
months
ago, I got
silent.
a text from my cousin Megan.
Inside the
Did
envelope
you hear
was a
Emily's
letter
getting married?
and something else.
No,
I
something
hadn't.
that explained
You
a lot
going.
of things.
That one cut
I pulled
deep.
the folded
Because I
document
hadn't
from the
been
envelope.
invited. Held it
Not
in
even
both
a forwarded
hands.
link.
You see, when
Emily
I was
was
13,
planning the perfect wedding.
I asked why Emily
and I wasn't
didn't look
even
like
on the
anyone
guest
in the
list.
family.
I
Why
opened
we had different
Instagram,
birthdays, but no
scrolled.
one talked about
There
it.
it was. My
I
mom
was
had
told not
posted
to
a
ask
photo of Emily
questions.
in a bridal dress.
My mom, sitting near the
Caption,
front, had her
"Can't
hand
wait
over
to
her
celebrate
mouth.
our beautiful
My dad
bride."
had gone red.
I stared at
but
it,
the truth came
and
back
something
to me.
inside me snapped.
On paper,
Not
jealousy,
with signatures,
not sadness,
DNA results,
clarity,
legal
They
backing.
never planned on letting
Emily
me be part of that world.
isn't who she thinks
Not
she
really.
is.
Gasped.
I didn't cry.
Actual gasps.
Didn't call.
Someone said.
Didn't ask why.
Oh my God.
I walked to my desk.
Emily took a step
opened
toward
the
me.
top drawer.
Rachel
pulled
stopped.
out a single
No.
envelope. The one
I
I'd
looked
saved
at
for
her.
2 years.
Really looked.
The one that told
All
me
these
the
years
truth.
you thought you were above me.
Came in the mail.
That mom and dad
no
loved
name
you
on the
more.
return label.
And they did.
Just mine.
But not for
Inside
the
was a
reasons you
short
think.
letter.
It
An illegal
wasn't
favoritism.
Certified.
It was guilt.
Stamp.
A sharp intake
It was
of
from
breath
someone
from the
I
front
hadn't
table.
seen in years.
My aunt knocked
Someone
over
I thought
her
had
wine
disappeared.
glass. A name that
You're
brought
not
back
my
1,000
sister.
questions.
You're not
The
even
letter
my
said,
half. Rachel.
"You're adopted."
I don't expect
Dead silence.
forgiveness.
Someone
but I thought
gasped
you should
so
know
loudly
the
it
truth.
echoed.
What you do
Emily's
with it
mouth opened,
is up
but
to
no
you.
words came
and
out.
then it said it. They
In
never
bold
told
print.
you. Because
Something
they were
that shattered
scared.
everything I'd
Scared
been told
you'd feel
growing
less
up.
than.
It wasn't
Scared
just
people
about
would
me.
treat you
It was
differently.
about Emily.
So instead,
For 2
they
years I
treated me
said
like
nothing.
I didn't exist.
Not to my parents.
My voice didn't shake.
Not to Emily.
It was steady.
Not to anyone.
Almost cold.
But now,
This
they
envelope
were
was
hosting
never
a wedding
meant to hurt you.
They invited
but
hundreds
today,
of
on your
people.
perfect day, you made a
Photographers.
choice.
You
Stylists,
humiliated me.
DJs.
You called
but
me
not
out
me.
in front of everyone.
So I got dressed.
So I made
Picked
mine.
a deep green gown I'd never
I
worn
folded
before.
the document,
Curled my
tucked
hair.
it back inside,
Put on lipstick I
I'm not
hadn't
here
touched
for
in
revenge.
years.
And I
I'm
went
here to finally
with the
be
envelope
seen.
in my purse.
And if it takes burning down
the
a
venue
lie
was
this
a fairy
big,
tale.
so be it.
String lights.
I handed the mic to a
Blush
stunned
pink
waiter
roses.
standing nearby.
Smiling servers
Turned
with champagne
and
trays.
walked out.
No one
No
noticed me
music.
at first.
No clapping.
Then Emily did.
Just silence.
Her face dropped.
And behind me,
Rachel.
everything
I
cracked.
smiled.
You look
I
stunning.
didn't stop until I
Did you
reached
get
the
an
parking
invite?
lot.
My
No.
hands were still.
She blinked.
My breath
Hard.
steady.
You
I didn't
shouldn't
cry.
be here.
Not because
And
it
yet
didn't
here
hurt,
I am.
but because
walked
I'd already
past her,
bled for years.
Sat near the back.
And now, the
I was
ceremony
finally
was
clean.
a blur. They
You
cried.
think that would be
They
the
kissed.
end, right?
Everyone
It
clapped.
wasn't.
Then
Because
came
2
the
days
reception.
later,
I got
the
a
dinner,
knock at my door.
the speeches,
And what happened
and just
next
before the cake,
told me this story
Emily
was
took
just
the
getting
mic.
started.
to love,
To family. To everyone who showed up to support us. Then her eyes locked on mine. Even those who weren't invited, but came anyway. Laughter. Loud. Sharp. Cruel. I didn't move. I reached into my purse, pulled out the envelope, and stood up. I didn't say a word yet, but the moment I stood, the room changed. Eyes turned, smiles faded, and they had no idea what was coming next. 2 days. That's how long the silence lasted. No calls, no texts, no half-hearted apologies, just silence. Then, bang, bang, bang. Someone was pounding on my apartment door. I didn't move at first. I already knew who it was. Only one person knocks like that when they're desperate. Emily. Rachel. Open the door. I didn't. Not right away. Let her wait. Let her feel it. The same way I sat through birthday parties uninvited. The same way I stood at my own graduation. With no one clapping. Now she could stand outside and wonder what came next. After 10 minutes I opened the door.
Emily's makeup was smeared. Her voice strained. How could you do that to me? She didn't say hi. Didn't ask why. Just that. Do what? You ruined my wedding. No. I ruined your fantasy. She stepped in like she owned the place. Looked around like it was beneath her. That part hadn't changed. Why didn't you tell me before? Would you have believed me? She didn't answer. Because we both knew the truth. They told me I was adopted after the wedding. After Rachel. Do you know what that felt like? I stayed silent. Because yes, I knew exactly what that felt like. You had no right. You had no mercy. She flinched. You stood there. With that mic. And mocked me. I stood there. And told the truth. Something our family hasn't done in years. She was shaking now. Not from fear. From fury. You think that makes you better than me? No. I stepped closer. I think it makes me finally equal. She stormed out. But that wasn't the end. Because later that night, I got an email. Not from her. Not from my parents. From a law firm. Attached was a PDF. Subject line. Change in family estate designation. I opened it. And nearly dropped my phone. It was a formal notice. My parents had removed me from the family will. Effective immediately. No explanation. No phone call. Just a signature. I laughed. Loud. Not because it was funny, but because it was exactly what I expected. They didn't just want me gone emotionally. They wanted me erased. And they thought that would end it? No. That's when it began. I reached back into that drawer. Same place I kept the envelope. Same place I kept the other file. The one they really didn't know I had. You see, that letter? That DNA test? It came with a second attachment. A legal clause. My biological father, the one they never talked about, had left something behind. An old property. Untouched. But it was what was under the property that mattered. A foundation. A family trust. Meant only for his legal bloodline. And because Emily wasn't blood, she wasn't eligible. So while they cut me out of their will, they didn't know they were already written out of someone else's. And that trust? It was enough. Enough to do something big. So I did. I built something. A foundation in his name. A company in mine. And I started hiring. But not just anyone. No. I started with names I recognized. Elise's husband. Her best friend. The DJ from her wedding. All of them applied. All of them got interviews. Why? Because I changed the company name and kept my identity off the website. You want revenge? You don't shout it. You build it. Quietly. When Emily showed up for the interview, she wore her best suit, held her resume like it was a weapon, and sat down across from my manager. She didn't even recognize the company's initials. Didn't question the glass wall with my name etched on the other side. She got the job. So did her husband. So did the friend. All of them. And 2 weeks later, I scheduled a meeting. Mandatory. CEO reveal. They had no idea what was coming. But you? You're about to find out. The email was simple. Subject. Company update CEO introduction. Time 10 a.m. Location. Main conference room. Attendance mandatory. No one questioned it. Because from the outside it looked routine. A new executive. A team intro. Just another company shuffle. Except it wasn't. I watched the security footage that morning. From my office. Across the hall. Behind glass. Emily walked in with her new coworkers. Her husband. Her best friend. They laughed. Grabbed coffee. Talked about weekend plans. She didn't know I was already in the building. Watching. Waiting. They sat in the conference room. 20 chairs. One long table. One blank screen. I waited until the clock hit 10:03. Then I walked in. Heels on polished tile. That sound always echoes. People looked up. Confused. Some half smiled. Some froze. Emily turned. And when she saw me, she dropped her pen. Rachel. I didn't answer right away. I walked to the head of the table. Set down my tablet. Took a deep breath. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rachel Taylor, founder and CEO of this company. Silence. A few people blinked. Emily just stared. Some of you may not recognize me. Some of you do. And some of you thought I was someone you could erase. I looked straight at her, then at her husband, then at the girl sitting beside them, her old maid of honor. But you can't erase someone who writes the checks. Her husband tried to speak. I held up my hand. No need. I'll keep it short. You were hired under the assumption that you were qualified, that you were trustworthy, that you'd represent this company with integrity. Unfortunately, your personal histories don't reflect that. Emily's voice finally broke through. This is a mistake. We didn't know. I did. I turned to security already standing at the door. Emily Taylor, Kyle Morgan, Dana Lee. You're all dismissed. Effective immediately. Her face twisted. You can't do this. I just did. You've ruined everything. No. You did. They stood up. One by one. Slow. Stiff. Silent. The rest of the room didn't move. No one clapped. No one whispered. Because deep down, they could feel it. This wasn't about revenge. This was about something more powerful. Reclamation. I watched them leave. Not because it gave me pleasure, but because it gave me peace. And when the door closed, I turned back to my team. Now, let's get to work. That afternoon I walked out of the building. Into sunlight. Free. Not from them. From the version of me they created. The silent one. The background one. The disposable one. That girl was gone. You might think that's the end. But it wasn't. Because 2 weeks later, my mother called. She asked if we could talk. And what she told me next changed everything again. 2 weeks of silence. Then a call. Blocked number. I almost didn't pick up. But something told me to. I answered. Hello. There was a pause. Then a voice I hadn't heard in weeks. Shaky. Rachel, it's Mom. I didn't say anything. Just waited. I just wanted to talk. Please. We met at a small cafe near her neighborhood. Neutral ground. She looked older than I remembered. I sunk in. Tired. Not from age. From guilt. She sat across from me. Didn't order anything. Just looked at her hands. Folded. Still. I didn't know they were going to cut you out of the will. They. Your father. I didn't blink. You signed it too. That shut her up. I didn't want more drama. I laughed. Quiet. Sharp. You didn't want honesty. It wasn't like that. It was always like that. She swallowed hard. You humiliated Emily. No. I revealed the truth. The same truth you buried. The same truth you raised me to pretend didn't matter. She's your sister. She's your project. She flinched. Then reached into her purse. Pulled out an envelope. Not that kind. A letter. This is from your biological father. He sent it years ago. I kept it. I didn't reach for it. You hid this from me. I didn't know how to explain it. You didn't want to. You always thought Emily was the stronger one. The better one. She needed more. No. She needed lies. You didn't. You're right. I didn't. That's why I'm sitting here whole. And she's not. She teared up. But I didn't. Because I was already past that. Rachel, I'm sorry. You're too late. She left the letter on the table. Walked out. Didn't look back. I sat there for a while. Stared at that envelope. Then opened it. Inside was a letter. Handwritten. By a man I barely remembered. But somehow I felt every word. You were always strong. Even when they tried to shape you into something else. I hope one day you find out just how powerful your voice really is. I smiled. Because I already had. That weekend I got an email from a podcast producer. They'd heard about the wedding story. Asked if I'd share it anonymously. I said no. Not because I didn't want to. But because I didn't need a microphone anymore. Not for them. Not for the world. I already said what I needed to say. I already stood in the room where I wasn't wanted. And they heard me. Not everyone gets justice. But sometimes you get the final word. Not to be cruel. Not to destroy. But to free yourself. And when that day comes, you don't need applause. Just silence. If this story hits something real, leave a comment below. Your voice matters here. Thumbs up, like, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more stories where silence finally breaks.